The rivalry between the United States and China is not just a headline, it's a seismic shift that is fundamentally reshaping our world, touching every corner of the globe and influencing the lives of billions. This competition is altering the balance of power, the flow of trade, and the very rules that have governed international relations for decades. After the Soviet Union fell, America enjoyed a brief era as the world's sole superpower, setting global rules, leading institutions, and projecting influence everywhere. The United States shaped the post-Cold War order, expanding alliances and promoting its vision of democracy and free markets. Many believed this unipolar moment would last indefinitely, that American dominance was the new normal. But history had other plans, and the world began to change in ways few anticipated. Quietly at first, then, with astonishing speed, China rose. Deng Xiaoping's reforms opened the door to global markets, transforming China into an economic powerhouse. Over the decades, hundreds of millions were lifted from poverty, and China's cities became symbols of rapid modernization. The West once hoped that China's economic growth would naturally lead to political liberalization and peaceful integration into the American-led order. That hope has faded as China has charted its own course, prioritizing stability and control over Western-style democracy. Under Xi Jinping, China is more assertive than ever, seeking to reshape the global system to fit its own interests, expanding its influence through ambitious projects like the Belt and Road Initiative, and projecting power far beyond its borders. This is now a contest between two systems, two visions for the 21st century. One is rooted in liberal democracy and open markets, the other in state-led capitalism and centralized authority. The era of easy assumptions is over. We're entering a more complex, unpredictable, and dangerous phase of international relations, where old certainties no longer apply and new risks emerge every day. The US and China now compete across every domain: trade, technology, military power, and ideology. Their rivalry shapes global supply chains, technological innovation, and even the way information flows around the world. Understanding the true balance of power between these giants is the key geopolitical challenge of our time. It requires looking past surface-level headlines to the deeper economic, political, and cultural forces at play. We must look beyond the daily news cycle to grasp the underlying trends, innovation, demographics, and shifting alliances that will determine the outcome. The outcome of this rivalry will define the future for everyone, shaping the world our children will inherit and the values that will guide the next century. At the heart of the US-China rivalry lies a fierce contest for economic power and global influence. These two nations, separated by an ocean but bound by commerce, have shaped the world's financial landscape for decades. For years, the US and China were deeply intertwined. America's appetite for affordable goods fueled China's rapid industrialization, while China's manufacturing might help build its sprawling cities and modern infrastructure. This symbiotic relationship drove global growth and lifted millions out of poverty. But today, that partnership has turned into a battleground, with each side vying for supremacy in trade, technology, and geopolitics. The US remains the world's largest economy, powered by relentless innovation, a vibrant entrepreneurial spirit, and the unrivaled dominance of the dollar in global markets. Its tech sector leads in breakthroughs that shape the future. Meanwhile, China has emerged as the world's top manufacturer and the leading trading partner for over 120 countries, wielding enormous influence, especially across the developing world. Its Belt and Road Initiative is reshaping global trade routes, yet both giants face daunting challenges. The US grapples with deep political divisions, mounting national debt, and questions about its global leadership. China, on the other hand, confronts a looming demographic crisis, an aging population, and a growth model that is starting to show signs of strain. The contest between these two powers isn't just about economic size, but about resilience, adaptability, and the ability to reinvent themselves in the face of adversity. The US places its bets on free market innovation, open competition, and attracting the world's brightest minds to fuel its progress. China, meanwhile, relies on state-led capitalism, long-term strategic planning, and massive investments in infrastructure and technology to drive its ambitions. The key question remains: Which system will better navigate the complex challenges of the 21st century and set the course for the future? The answer is far from certain, as both nations face unpredictable headwinds and opportunities. One thing is clear: the economic rivalry between these two giants is only intensifying, shaping the destiny of the world for generations to come. The US still holds a commanding global military lead, with unmatched spending, global bases, and advanced forces. China's military, however, has modernized at breakneck speed, now boasting the world's largest navy and advanced missile systems designed to counter US strengths. The Indo-Pacific, especially around Taiwan, is the main theater. China can concentrate forces close to home while the US must project power across the Pacific. Both nations possess nuclear arsenals, making direct war extremely risky. The US retains global superiority, but China is achieving regional dominance, creating a tense standoff in the Western Pacific. The military balance is shifting, and the risk of miscalculation is rising. This rivalry is no longer abstract, it's a real high-stakes contest. The world is watching closely. The fiercest battleground may be technology, especially semiconductors, the brains of the modern world. The US leads in chip design, but manufacturing is concentrated in Taiwan, creating a global vulnerability. Both Washington and Beijing are racing to secure chip supply chains. America with the CHIPS Act, China with massive state investment. China lags in cutting-edge chips, but is catching up fast. The US has imposed export controls to slow China's progress, escalating the chip war. The race extends to AI. US tech giants lead in innovation, while China leverages state support and vast data. This is a clash of innovation models, private sector dynamism versus state-driven strategy. The outcome will shape economic and military power for decades. The tech rivalry is just beginning. No great power succeeds alone. Alliances are crucial. The US leads a vast network of formal alliances, NATO and pacts with Japan, South Korea, Australia and more, built on shared values and decades of cooperation. This empire of invitations amplifies American power. China, in contrast, has few formal allies, relying on economic partnerships and initiatives like Belt and Road to build influence, especially in the global South. The US is reinvigorating alliances, forming new coalitions like the Quad and AUKUS to balance China and the Indo-Pacific. The diplomatic contest is a battle of models. America's values-based alliances versus China's economics-driven partnerships. Middle powers, India, Brazil, Indonesia, are key swing states, reluctant to choose sides. Winning their support or neutrality is central for both Washington and Beijing. The global balance of influence is in flux. Alliances may tip the scales. The US-China rivalry turns dangerous at key flashpoints. Taiwan is the most perilous. Beijing demands unification, while the US supports Taiwan's self-defense. As China's military grows, the risk of conflict rises. The South China Sea is another hotspot. China's sweeping claims and militarized islands clash with US insistence on freedom of navigation. Close encounters between US and Chinese forces risk accidental escalation. Cyberspace is a third front. Both sides engage in hacking, espionage, and economic warfare. Sanctions, export controls, and trade boycotts add fuel to the fire. These flashpoints are tripwires. A crisis could spiral out of control. Managing these risks requires clear communication and credible deterrence. As nationalism rises, space for compromise shrinks. Careful management is more urgent than ever. The future of US-China relations remains unwritten. Decisions made in both Washington and Beijing will profoundly shape what comes next, not just for these two nations, but for the entire world. The relationship stands at a pivotal moment, with multiple possible directions ahead. One scenario is managed rivalry, a world where competition is fierce and ongoing, but both sides agree to set up guardrails to prevent disaster. In this future, the US and China might still find ways to cooperate on urgent global challenges like climate change, pandemics, and nuclear security, even as they compete in technology, trade, and influence. Another possibility is a new Cold War. In this scenario, the world splits into rival blocs, with economies and technologies decoupling and proxy conflicts emerging in different regions. The echoes of past superpower standoffs would return, but with new complexities and higher stakes. A third, more dangerous path is limited conflict, perhaps a sharp, localized war over flashpoints like Taiwan or the South China Sea. Such a conflict could have devastating consequences, not only for the region, but for global stability and prosperity. The fourth scenario is Chinese ascendancy. If China manages to overcome its internal challenges and the US faces setbacks, Beijing could emerge as the world's preeminent power, reshaping global norms, institutions, and alliances in its image. Each of these paths carries significant risks and deep uncertainties. The choices made by leaders and the responses of societies will determine which future unfolds. The stakes are truly global. Prosperity, security, and the very shape of the 21st century hang in the balance. Every nation, business, and individual will feel the impact of the direction chosen. The decisions made now will echo for decades, influencing generations to come and setting the tone for international relations far into the future. There is no predetermined outcome. The story of US-China relations is still being written, and its ending remains open. The world stands at a crossroads, facing choices that will define our collective destiny. Neither the US nor China is destined for outright victory. The most likely future is a long, open-ended rivalry, messy, tense, and competitive. The US retains major advantages, innovation, alliances, and the dollar, but can't take primacy for granted. It must address domestic divisions and renew its strengths. China's rise is impressive, but it faces deep structural problems, demographics, debt, and political rigidity. Its assertive foreign policy has triggered backlash, complicating its path to global leadership. The contest will hinge on who adapts best and builds the most attractive model. This isn't a Cold War replay or a simple passing of the torch. The struggle is for leadership in technology, governance, and coalition building. The real power balance is still being written. To understand the US-China rivalry's direction, watch a few key signals. First, Taiwan. Changes in military posturing or rhetoric signal shifts in the broader relationship. Second, technology. Progress in semiconductors, US CHIPS Act, China's domestic breakthroughs will shape the tech balance. Third, China's economy and demography. Data on growth, unemployment, and debt reveal its capacity to project power. Fourth, alliances. Are middle powers moving closer to the US or hedging with China? The cohesion of US alliances is crucial. These indicators will reveal deeper shifts than daily headlines. The future won't be decided in a bilateral contest, but in a global competition for partners. The world is already in a messy, multipolar era. The contest is far from over. The signals are out there if we know where to look.